In this huge, kind of shadowy world of hacktivism, these digital personas just seem to emerge from nowhere. They're wrapped in anonymity, but they can have this incredible amount of influence. Today, we're going to unpack one of the most complex figures in that entire world. And this quote, wow, it really sets the stage, right? His story is described as this narrative woven from personal trauma and this deep thirst for justice. It's this complex anatomy of a modern hacktivist, and we're about to piece it all together from the digital breadcrumbs he's left behind. So this is really the central question, isn't it? With someone like Spiderbite, where the lines are just so incredibly blurry, are we dealing with a criminal, a crusader, or something else entirely? Okay, let's dive into this. Because to really get a handle on this whole enigma, you have to understand the person behind the screen. And believe me, his story starts in a very, very dark place. And yeah, these are his words. Spiderbite's entire digital persona, his whole motivation, he claims, is built on this foundation of extreme hardship and really deep personal trauma. So if you look at his timeline, it really maps out this journey from physical trauma to digital power. After losing his mother and suffering terrible abuse, he was leading this double life. But the real turning point came when he was 15. Some online rivals doxed him. They leaked all his private info. And then they swatted him, which is a horrifying prank where they send a SWAT team to your house. But here's the wild part. Instead of scaring him off, he says it just emboldened him. And that was the moment everything changed. He realized he had found a new weapon, a new purpose, a way to fight back, not in the physical world where he felt totally powerless, but online, where he could become incredibly powerful. So this powerful new identity, it didn't just exist in a vacuum, right? It found a home. And that home was the global hacktivist movement, Anonymous. Now, Spiderbite found his place in hacktivism, and if you're not familiar, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Activism, but using digital tools. We're talking hacking, data leaks, all that stuff, but not to make money. The goal is to push a social or political agenda. And this anonymous collective that Spiderbite says he's a part of, well, it's chaotic and powerful by design. There are no leaders, it's completely decentralized. The main idea is exposing corruption. But here's the catch. Anyone can claim to be part of it. And that makes the whole thing vulnerable to, undercover agents and a ton of internal conflict. Okay, so this is where we get to the absolute core of the mystery. Because Spiderbite's methods, this is where all those ethical lines just start to dissolve. I mean, he paints himself as this digital vigilante, right? And on the surface, it sounds pretty noble. Catching online predators and traffickers, fighting these awful crimes that he believes the authorities either can't or just won't touch. But, and this is a huge but, the way he does it is, well, it's a moral maze. It raises some really serious questions about whether the ends can ever justify these particular means. And listen to this. In his own words, he admits the most crucial part of all of this. His entire vigilante operation is built on a foundation of deception, on pretending to be someone he's not. And this right here, this really lays out the paradox perfectly. On one side, you have the stated goal, catching predators. On the other, the methods he uses to get there. He's openly admitted to creating fake online profiles, often pretending to be women, all to lure in the people he's targeting. And here is the huge, profound irony in all of this. His tactics, building fake relationships, using deception to manipulate people, they look an awful lot like the very romance scams he claims he's fighting. That line between justice and crime, it gets incredibly blurry really fast. And just to give you a sense of the scale of this problem, get this. The Federal Trade Commission reported that in 2022 alone, victims lost a staggering $1.3 billion to romance scams. It's this massive, out-of-control problem that Spiderbite says justifies his methods, fighting fire with fire, using the criminal's own playbook against them. So, where does all this leave us? It really brings us to this fundamental question about justice in our digital age. When the official systems fail, who's supposed to step in? And what are the rules for them? Are there any?
It's been said that it's a thin gray line between an illegal hacker and a security professional, and that's exactly where figures like Spiderbyte live, right in that gray space. They've got the skills of a top-tier expert, but they use them with zero oversight, often breaking the very laws they say they're trying to uphold. And ultimately, that's the question his story really forces us all to think about. When you're out there fighting monsters, how do you make sure you don't become one yourself? In this massive, wild west of the internet, maybe the difference between a hero and a villain just depends on which side of the screen you're on.